recruiting in town, T-Town, touchdown, Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Rammer, jammer, yellow hammer, come see how we rock this. Alabama fans, the best, there's no way you can top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
Hey everyone, welcome into The Process, Crimson Tide Recruiting. I am your host, Justin Smith, the Scouting and Recruiting Analyst for Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on our YouTube page. If you're not subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button below. Also, be sure to leave a like whether you are subscribed or not. I will be here a couple of times out of the week to break down the latest in Crimson Tide football recruiting news, so be sure to turn on all of your notifications as well so you can be notified when we drop content here at touchdownalabama.com on YouTube. Today on The Process, I do want to talk about a couple of 2022 prospects who are verbally committed to the Crimson Tide, who I expect to have huge senior seasons this upcoming year in high school football. And I want to discuss how those huge seasons will translate to them making a jump in recruiting ratings and rankings on most recruiting sites. But before I get an opportunity to talk about those three guys I want to discuss who are verbally committed to Alabama at the time, I do want to talk about the latest in the Crimson Tide's 2022 recruiting class, with them picking up a verbal commitment from four-star defensive back Jake Pope on yesterday, and also losing a commitment from four-star running back Le'Veon Moss out of Louisiana recently. I want to discuss who could commit to the Crimson Tide next first. And the first prospect I want to talk about is four-star wide receiver Baron Brown out of Perricone High School in Nashville, Tennessee. Brown is a prospect who Alabama has prioritized over the last several months. I have talked about him on The Process for several weeks now, heavily, just shining a light on him because he was a prospect. He was one of those prospects who said he wanted to announce a decision before his senior season started. That may or may not happen, but I do feel a decision is still very close for the four-star wide receiver out of Nashville, Tennessee, by the way of Perricone High School. I think when you look at Baron Brown's game, the Crimson Tide's coaching staff really seemed to like him. Nick Saban has stayed in contact with him. He likes his game, comparing him to Devontae Smith. The Crimson Tide's wide receiver coach Harmon Wiggins likes Baron Brown, and also the Crimson Tide's offensive line coach Doug Marrone also has a lot of love for Baron Brown as well, because he is one of the key recruiters when it comes to the Crimson Tide recruiting Baron Brown out of Tennessee here in this 2022 recruiting class. So we are going to continue to watch Baron Brown. We are also keeping our eyes on four-star defensive end Justice FINKLEY out of here at Trussville High School in Trussville, Alabama. We recently visited FINKLEY at Trussville High School recently. I got an opportunity to talk with them, interview him. You guys can check out that full interview over at touchdownalabama.com and on our YouTube page. He discussed that he is set to announce a commitment very soon. I think that commitment will come in a couple of weeks. Of course, he is down to Alabama, Texas, and Colorado. I feel Alabama is still in a strong position with the in-state talent. I think Alabama has pushed really hard for him. They got him on campus a couple of times during the month of June. They also got him on campus for their annual Champions Cookout in July. So he is very interested in the Crimson Tide. He knows what the program has to offer. So I still feel his commitment is ultimately going to come down to Alabama and Texas ahead of his commitment decision. I feel Alabama's in a great position. Be sure to check out that interview as well on our YouTube page. The last guy I want to talk about is a prospect I have not really talked about here on The Process before, and that is four-star tight end JALEEL Skinner, who will play his senior season at IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. When you look at Skinner, he's listed as a tight end. He has massive size, a guy who has good height stands, taller than 6'6", and when you look at his frame and the way that he plays, there's a lot to like. A guy who is going to continue to go after that title of being the #1 tight end here in this 2022 recruiting class. Plays a lot out wide at the wide receiver position. He can block as well, so he is the full package at the tight end position. Of course, Alabama has verbal commitments from 2 tight ends in the 2022 recruiting class. When you look at Elijah Brown and AMARI NIBLACK, but when you take a look at JALEEL Skinner and what he brings to the table, you cannot turn down that. If you were Alabama, you have to continue to push for a guy like Skinner. So the Crimson Tide are still pushing for the 5-star tight end. The Crimson Tide will continue to push for him, as he recently said that his commitment is right around the corner. So I would definitely pay close attention to JALEEL Skinner as well. But those are the prospects who I wanted to talk about today in terms of guys who could commit to the Crimson Tide next. Now we are going to translate and basically move over to the Crimson Tide's 2022 verbal commits, who I feel could have a very good seasons this upcoming year in high school football. And the first prospect I want to talk about is Jake Pope, the 4-star defensive back out of Bruford High School in Bruford, Georgia. We have him rated as a 4-star recruit in our own independent recruiting rankings. We rank and rate each guy who is verbally committed to the Crimson Tide at the moment. With him verbally committed to Alabama yesterday, he garners a 4-star rating on touchdownalabama.com in our own independent recruiting rankings. On most recruiting sites, if you average it out, he is rated as a 3-star recruit. But I think that is going to change after he puts together a strong senior season for Bruford High School in Bruford, Georgia. I feel his junior season was enough for him to garner that 4-star rating. That is why he's a 4-star on our independent recruiting rankings. And when you look at what he brings to the table, there is so much to like. I think he has all of the intangibles that you'd like to see out of a defensive back in terms of his instincts. He's also a very athletic kid. He shows it out on the offense, shows it off on the offensive side of football as well as the defensive side of football. Runs routes really effectively, easily could be a slot wide receiver here at the next level for the Crimson Tide if the Alabama wanted to use him there, but they really like him at the safety position. And I can see why. High points the football like none other. When you see him high point the ball, that's what you like to see out of an elite defensive back. So I really like Jake Pope. I am really high on the 4-star defensive back out of Bruford High School in Bruford, Georgia. I think he's going to have a huge senior season for Bruford, and I think he's going to boost his recruiting rating up to a 4-star recruit before his senior season is over. Another Alabama commit who I feel could have a huge senior season is AMARI, the 3-star athlete out of Florida, out of Clearwater, Florida. I think he has an opportunity to have a massive season because he is still growing as a football player. If you take a look at his junior film, you could tell that he is a bit raw in a lot of areas, but you can tell that he's also very athletic. Got an opportunity to just take a look at some of his 7-on-7 highlights and saw him line up at wide receiver a lot more than he lines up at wide receiver for his high school, and I saw that he was able to do some things, especially down the field in terms of catching some jump passes in the red zone. So I think he brings a lot to the table, and I think he's going to show that he is one of the top tight ends here in this 2022 recruiting class. I think the Crimson Tide fans should be really excited about AMARI NIBLACK as he continues to grow as a football player. The last prospect I will talk about today is Alabama's 4-star athlete commit Antonio KITE out of Anniston High School in Anniston, Alabama. Another prospect who has to continue to grow in terms of being a football player. He has a basketball background, played basketball for so long. If he's stuck with basketball, it would be very hard to argue that he is not one of the top point guards in the 2022 recruiting class, but he's putting basketball to the side, focusing solely on football for Anniston High School this upcoming season. He is not going to play he's not going to play basketball at the next level, although he did receive an Alabama basketball offer before he received an Alabama football offer. But he's going to focus on football at the next level, and he's very athletic. Like I've said a couple of different times when I broke down this film, when he first committed to the Crimson Tide, just talking about him on the process. He's a bit raw in a lot of areas, but those areas are very teachable. You cannot teach the things that he already has, and those instincts that he brings to the table, his ability to anticipate where the ball is going, and that athleticism that shows off on the hardwood translates over to the football field. So I think Antonio KITE will show a lot more aggressiveness as well this upcoming season. We're going to see a lot of recruiting ratings and rankings reflect that. So those are the 3 guys I will pay attention to as the 2021 high school football season begins. I am very excited about the high school football season kicking off this week. I know a lot of Alabama fans, college football fans are really excited about the college football season, but with me focusing more on the recruiting side, focusing more on high school football players, I am really excited and pumped up for the start of the high school football season this week. I will be out at a couple of games this week. I will definitely provide coverage here on our YouTube page and on our website over at touchdownalabama.com. So thank you guys so much for watching the process today. Be sure to hit that subscribe button below before you leave. Also be sure to leave a like whether you are subscribed or not. Then head over to touchdownalabama.com, pick up that subscription today. With that subscription, you will be able to read all of our subscriber only articles, get your hands on our yearly print magazine issue as well. Then head to the Google Play Store for your Android users and to the Apple App Store for you Apple users to download the Touchdown Alabama app. With that app, breaking news notifications can be sent to your mobile device here by the staff at touchdownalabama.com. As always, I am your host, Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine.
Process.